Divorced billionaire discovers hidden joy as cleaner-s heartwarming tea changes his life forever. Jack Whitman had it all, or at least he used to. Once the shining star of Chicago's elite. His face held up the cover of every glossy magazine until the tabloids feasted on the news of his high-profile divorce. Now, in his luxurious penthouse overlooking the windy city, he felt more like a ghost haunting his own gilded cage. Among the marble countertops and crystal chandeliers, the silence echoed louder than his past triumphs, suffocating him in a loneliness that matched the dull gray of the winter sky outside on one particularly bleak evening. While sitting alone in his meticulously curated living room, Jack found himself staring out at the city that once thrummed with life, but now felt wildly out of reach. Everything about his success felt tainted, a flashy reminder of all he had lost. He was wealthy, yes, but utterly empty. As fate would have it, disaster would soon give way to unexpected connection. Rosa, a resilient immigrant cleaner, entered his life like a breath of fresh air, her warmth contrasting sharply with Jack's icy demeanor. That evening, as she dusted the countless bookshelves, she caught a glimpse of his despair. "Mr. Whitman," she offered with an endearing accent, "would you like to try some tea? It's my grandmother's secret recipe." Jack hesitated, recalling the bitterness of his recent past. But her genuine smile, bright as the sun breaking through clouds, urged him to say yes as she brewed the tea in the kitchen. The rich and aromatic scent filled the air. When Jack took his first sip, it was as if the world had shifted beneath him. The warmth unfurled in his chest, a flicker of forgotten joy igniting his senses. The taste was distinct and comforting, reminding him of family dinners long forgotten and laughter that danced around the table. With each sip, he felt the stark contrast of their lives more acutely. Here he was, a billionaire wallowing in emptiness, while Rosa carried burdens that most would deem insurmountable. "Tell me about your family," he urged one afternoon, keenly interested in the woman behind the mop. Rosa's face lit up as she spoke about her siblings, her struggles, and her hopes. Each story was woven with love and loyalty, every hardship met with laughter. He realized she embraced her reality, refusing to be defined by it. Jack found himself mesmerized by her spirit, challenged to reassess his priorities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as their friendship blossomed, whispers began rippling through his circle. Friends he had known for years, dismissed Rosa with disdain. "She's just a cleaner," they scoffed. Jack's heart tightened. He was caught in a storm not just of societal expectations but of his own burgeoning respect for Rosa. The judgment was swift, and he felt torn between the shimmering allure of his privileged life and the light she brought into the darkness of his soul as days wore on. He overheard murmurs about her family's upcoming eviction. A surge of indignation coursed through him. He wanted to help, to let this woman know that she was worth so much more than anyone around him believed. But how could he bridge the yawning chasm between their worlds? Would he have the courage to stand up against those in his orbit, risking everything for a woman whose strength and character made him feel alive again? Standing at the crossroads of his heart, Jack realized he had to make a choice, a decision that could reshape his understanding of wealth, community, and love. Would he champion Rosa and her family, or retreat back into the shadows of his lonely mansion? The moment hung palpably in the air, charged with uncertainty. Jack stood at the window, the dim city lights flickering like distant stars, illuminating the path that lay before him. He closed his eyes, letting the sound of the bustling streets below seep into his consciousness. The laughter of children playing, the honk of car horns, the gentle hum of life, it all contrasted sharply with the oppressive silence of his penthouse. He was tired of being confined within his high walls. The wealth and opulence that had once filled him with pride now felt suffocating. Jack's heart raced as thoughts of Rosa flooded his mind, the way she lit up when she spoke about her family, the unwavering determination in her eyes when she faced life's challenges. Here was a woman who had nothing but managed to weave joy and hope from the threads of adversity. Suddenly, it hit him. He couldn't just stand by and watch as Rosa and her family faced eviction. She deserved so much more. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. What would happen if he reached out? If he used his resources for good instead of merely indulging in his wealth? Jack took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of something inside him start to awaken a desire to connect, to fight against the unjust circumstances that so many face daily. He envisioned Rosa's face lighting up at the thought of help, her laughter echoing joyfully as they planned a better future. Hours later, he found himself outside the small building where Rosa lived. His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of nervous anticipation and a yearning to change lives. The rundown structure appeared weary from age and hardship, but the garden that Rosa tended was full of vibrant colors that reflected her resilience. Knocking on the door, Jack felt his hands shake slightly. What if she didn't want to see him outside of work? What if she hesitated to accept his help? But that fear was quickly overshadowed by a surge of determination. The door swung open, and there she was, sunlight streaming through the doorway, illuminating her delicate features. "Mr. Whitman," she said, surprise washing over her face. "What brings you here?" Jack's throat went dry. "Rosa, I wanted to talk to you. About your family. I heard about the eviction. I want to help." Her eyes widened, a flicker of hope darting across her expression before it was tempered with doubt. "Mr. Whitman, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. But I want to," he interrupted, feeling a weight lift as he spoke those words. "You've shown me a part of life I've ignored for too long. I want to be there for you." Tears glistened in Rosa's eyes, the rawness of the moment enveloping them both. An unspoken connection surged between them. "Jack, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything right now. Just know that you're not alone in this." It was a promise, one that felt profoundly sincere and intimate as the moment lingered. Jack knew that stepping into the light meant stepping into a storm. The whispers of judgment and disdain from his old life would be fierce. But the warmth radiating from Rosa made the choice clear. He was willing to risk it all. Together they stood on the brink of something profound. But how would Jack's circle respond to their new bond? Would he truly have the courage to carry through with his intentions? The questions loomed as he watched Rosa regain her composure. A mixture of gratitude and worry etched across her face. Would this be the beginning of a new journey, or would fear hold them back? Jack stood there, unsure of what came next. He had crossed a threshold from the life he knew into something unknown, yet thrilling. The expression that flickered across Rosa's face was raw and real, a blend of disbelief, gratitude, and an unmistakable warmth. It was that warmth he didn't want to lose. "Mr. Whitman, this is unexpected," she finally said, wiping a tear from her cheek. "You don't know our situation. I want to know," he urged, stepping closer. "I want to understand everything." He could see her hesitance. It was a wall built from years of hardship, but he felt an undeniable pull to break it down. In that moment, he realized that helping Rosa wasn't just about her family. It was about something bigger, about his own redemption from a life that felt increasingly empty. After a brief silence, Rosa invited him inside. The small apartment smelled of fresh herbs and simmering spices. It was a far cry from the sterile atmosphere of his penthouse, but there was a vibrancy here that made him feel alive. Her family photos adorned the walls, each image telling a story filled with laughter, struggles, and hope. Jack watched as she moved through the modest space with a grace that captivated him. "My mother works long hours," she explained, "and my siblings are still in school. We manage to scrape by, but things are getting harder." Jack felt a knot form in his stomach. "Rosa, I want to help with your rent." "No," she interrupted, her eyes wide, almost pleading. "This isn't just about money. It's my family. They've worked so hard for what we have. I can't just accept help without knowing how to give back." "Then let me help you find a way," he offered, heart racing. "If I could help organize a job for you or your siblings, Maybe even more support, but at what cost? She asked, her voice quivering with emotion. I don't want to be charity. I want to earn what we have. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He admired her tenacity, but he also saw a glimmer of fear behind it, fear of being beholden to a world that would see her as less than she was. I understand. I just want you to have a chance, a fair chance. Rosa steadied herself, her eyes fierce and unwavering. Then let us figure it out together. But it has to mean something beyond just money. It has to mean community. It has to mean respect. Jack nodded, feeling a spark of clarity ignite between them. I can help. We can get this done, Rosa. You're not alone. As they spoke, something shifted inside him. The walls that had kept him in his high rise, tucked away from the world, began to crumble. There was a dangerous beauty in this. Could he really change not just Rosa's life, but his own? Just then, a loud honk from the street below interrupted the moment. Jack looked out the window, considering how far he would go to protect this newfound connection. He felt a mix of fear and exhilaration as he turned back to Rosa, her eyes searching his with an intensity he had never seen before. Are you ready then? She asked softly, the question lingering in the air like an unspoken agreement. Are we really going to do this? Jack swallowed hard. The road ahead loomed before them, fraught with challenges and uncertainty. But he felt something inside him begin to shift, a determination stronger than any he'd known before. Yeah, I'm ready, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Together, they stepped into the unknown, ready to forge a path that intertwined their lives in ways neither could yet fully comprehend. But what lay ahead? Would the bond they were forming withstand the scrutiny of his elite world? Jack felt a knot in his stomach. He had never faced anything like it before as they embarked on this journey. Heart beating wildly, one question hung over them both. Would their hope for a better tomorrow be powerful enough to triumph over the shadows of fear that lurked behind every corner? Jack stepped into the living room, the warm ambience of the apartment wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. Rosa busied herself in the kitchen, her movements purposeful and fluid. He watched as she stirred a pot on the stove, releasing fragrant waves that tickled his senses. Do you cook often? He asked, trying to break the ice, his own nervousness mixing with the inviting smells. Every day, she replied, glancing back at him with a smile that sparked an ember of hope inside him. It's my way of bringing the family together. Food does that, you know? He nodded, struck by how something as simple as a meal held so much meaning in her world. He felt as if he were standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the potential for discovery rolling in waves before him. What could he learn from her? From them? As she continued to stir, Jack felt a wave of determination wash over him. He had to do more than just offer his support. He wanted to dive deeper into this new life. What do you think your siblings need most right now? He asked. Rosa paused, her smile fading slightly as she turned serious. They need stability. Mom works too many hours, and I try my best to keep everything together. But it's hard. They need a little encouragement. Someone to look up to. Jack's mind raced. Encouragement. He could help with that. What if we put together a small mentorship program? I could bring in some professionals to help guide them. You do that? Her eyes widened, disbelief mingling with hope. I would. I want to help them grow, and I want to show them that the world isn't as small as it seems, he replied. Rosa took a deep breath, then nodded slowly. But you need to understand, it's not just about giving something away. It's about building trust, building community. We need to earn our place, not take it. Jack considered her words. The last thing he wanted was to hover over them like a lifeline they hadn't asked for. You're right. I need to learn from you as much as you need from me. She silenced him with a fierce look, a declaration of intent. Then let us meet my family. If you're serious about this, you have to meet my mom and siblings. They need to trust you too. His heart quickened. What if they didn't like him? What if they saw him as just another wealthy man trying to play savior? But the thought of stepping back now felt impossible. Okay, let us do it. They finished dinner together, their laughter mingling with the aromas in the air. For the first time in a long while, Jack felt lighter. Was this what it felt like to belong? To create something meaningful instead of building walls around himself? After dinner, as they sat on the small couch, Rosa shared stories about her family, filling the room with vivid images of love, struggle, and laughter. Jack listened intently, her life becoming a tapestry that he desperately wanted to be part of. Suddenly, the front door swung open, interrupting the moment. A flurry of noise burst in as Rosa's younger siblings rushed through. They were a whirlwind of energy, chatter, and shouts, life filling the room. Jack stood up, a smile spreading across his face. "Hey there, I'm Jack," he introduced himself, feeling an uncharacteristic warmth envelop him. The young ones paused, assessing him with wary curiosity. Rosa stepped beside him, a quiet reassurance radiating from her. "Guys, this is Jack. He's going to help us." Their eyes widened, shifting from Rosa to him, their expressions turning serious. Jack took a deep breath, ready for their questions or their doubts. He was prepared to earn his place among them, just as Rosa wanted. But then, the unexpected happened. "Can you cook?" one of the younger siblings asked, tilting their head as if judging whether he was worthy of their trust. Jack chuckled, feeling the tension in his chest dissolve. "I can, but I might need a little guidance." And just like that, laughter echoed in the room again, igniting a warmth that made Jack's heart swell as they began to bond. He realized he was stepping into uncharted territory, facing the challenge of bridging their worlds. Would he be able to earn their respect? Would he truly become part of this vibrant family? He exchanged glances with Rosa, both of them caught in the magic of the moment. But even amid the laughter, a shadow passed over him. What would happen when the reality of his old life barged into this fragile new space? The laughter faded, and an uncomfortable silence fell. The air crackled with unspoken questions, the weight of his past looming like a curtain waiting to drop. Jack knew that soon, he would have to confront his old world and the choices he'd made. Would he still be the beacon of hope for Rosa and her family? Or would he become just another reminder of the divide that kept them apart? The room felt heavy with anticipation, a fragile thread connecting Jack to Rosa and her siblings. A moment later, the laughter shattered the tension once more as her youngest brother, Matteo, darted around the couch, trying to sneak up on him. Jack barely registered the motion before the boy pounced, a wide grin plastered across his face. "Gotcha!" Matteo cried, tackling Jack's leg with surprising force. Jack laughed, feeling lighter than he had in ages as he ruffled the boy's hair. "You're a fierce one." Rosa smiled at the scene, the warmth returning to her eyes. Maybe this was what she meant about building community, engaging in laughter, letting the walls crumble, even if ever so slightly. As the chatter buzzed around him, Jack tried to keep up with the conversation, but he felt a growing sense of disconnect. He engaged with Matteo, asking about his favorite cartoons, but his thoughts drifted back to the weight of his past life. He had been so focused on the mentorship program and proving himself worthy of trust, he hadn't fully considered the breadth of the world he wanted to help bridge. Then, as if sensing the shift in his mood, Rosa gently elbowed him, bringing him back. "What's next, Chef Jack?" Jack blinked, realizing the question wasn't just playful but pointed. He could either retreat into his own mind or take this opportunity to step further into their world. "How about we all cook together sometime?" he suggested. "I think we could make a dish that mixes our cultures." The room quieted as his words sunk in. He held his breath, nervous to see how they would react. Then, Beatrice, Rosa's older sister, spoke up, her smile tentative. "Like what? You in? I hope you can keep up." Jack met her gaze, feeling a surge of determination. "I promise I'll try, and I might need you guys to teach me a thing or two." Rosa's laughter spread warmth again as she nodded approvingly. "See, Matteo? We might have a competition going on here." Matteo's eyes lit up. "Can we compete to see who makes the best dessert?" "I love sweets. Desserts it is, then," Jack declared, energized by their enthusiasm. The playful banter resumed, but a new thread had been woven into their interaction, one of collaboration and shared experiences. Slowly, Jack began to peel back the layers that had shrouded him in his previous life of isolation. Yet, a small voice reminded him that he still had a long way to go. He needed to be genuinely present, not just a passing novelty in their lives. As the evening wore on, they gathered around the dining table, large enough to fit the entire family. Plates of simple, yet delicious food filled their space, each with a story that Rosa shared with pride. Jack felt a swell of gratitude. These people, this family, so vibrant and full of life, were becoming a part of him. He wasn't merely there to lift them up. They were elevating him in return, showing him the beauty in simplicity. But as much as he wanted to embrace this fragile happiness, a nagging worry coiled in his gut. What if his past thundered back into his life like a storm, washing away this newfound connection? When the phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder of his old commitments, his heart sank. "Jack?" Rosa asked, her tone shifting, concern creasing her brow. "Are you okay?" He forced a smile, but it felt sticky on his lips. "Yeah, just thinking." Rosa's gaze pierced him, sensing the hesitation hiding beneath. The comfort and joy of the evening crowded around him, but that cloud from his past still loomed ominously in his mind. Deep down, Jack understood he would need to face that rise of reality eventually. Could he really keep the two lives separate? Just then, the phone buzzed again, and the room seemed to shrink, as if holding its breath, awaiting his choice. The moment felt electric, the tension twisting. Would he answer and use it as an anchor to pull him back? Or would he silence it and allow himself to be swept away into this burgeoning joy? At that moment, he realized the choice mattered more than the call itself. Would tonight mark the beginning of a new chapter, or the end before it even started? Jack stared at his phone, heart hammering in his chest. The buzz felt more like a chain, dragging him back into a world he yearned to escape. He glanced at Rosa, who was still watching him, concern etched across her features. For a fleeting moment, he imagined what might happen if he simply tossed the device across the room. Would it shatter the fragile intimacy he found in this home? Would it break the spell of laughter and warmth wrapped around him? "Jack, do you want to go outside for a moment?" Rosa asked softly, her voice cutting through the whirlwind of thoughts. It might help. He thought about it. A quick breath of fresh air wouldn't hurt. Maybe it was just what he needed to clear his head. Jack nodded and rose from the table, unable to suppress a smile as Mateo scampered after him, clearly eager to tag along. Outside, the evening air embraced them like a blanket. The sun hung low, casting golden rays that danced through the trees lining the yard. Jack closed his eyes for a brief moment, letting the warmth wash over him. Yet even in this paradise, the buzzing phone felt like a hornet's nest in his pocket. "What were you thinking about?" Mateo chirped, trying to climb up his leg again, clearly unfazed by the weight of adult worries. Jack hesitated. How could he explain? "Just stuff on my mind, buddy. Like, what do you think we should make for our dessert competition?" The kid's expression shifted from concern to excitement, his eyes sparkling at the thought. "How about chocolate cookies? We can put lots of sugar in them. And maybe whipped cream. Sounds delicious. What do you think Beatriz will want to make?" "Something fancy, like a cake. She loves cake." Mateo grinned with pride. Jack laughed, and in that moment his worries momentarily fled. Here was joy, unfiltered and pure, wrapped in the innocence of a child. But as he allowed Mateo's energy to fuel his spirit, the unsettling buzz revived. The weight of the past pressed down on him, squeezing at his insides. Unconsciously, he reached for the phone, fingers hovering over the screen. Something deep inside urged him to answer. "Jack?" Rosa's voice broke his concentration as she stepped outside, her brow furrowed with concern but her tone conducive to calm. "What is it? You've been quiet, and I don't want you to feel alone in this." A wave of warmth filled him. Here was a woman who understood the delicate balance of existence, who was extending her hand, asking him to grasp it. Could he do that? Could he put down the fear of his past and trust the present moment? He faltered, voice low. "I don't want to drag you all into my problems." "You're not dragging us anywhere," Rosa replied firmly. We want to help. You're part of this family now. Those words hung in the air like a melody, soothing yet profound. His heart cracked open a little more at her kindness, but a lingering doubt remained. Did he deserve this? His phone buzzed once more, a reminder of obligations he couldn't entirely shake off. The past and future merged in that moment, threatening to collide and disrupt the magic they decreated. Rosa stepped closer, her eyes searching his. What's the call about? He knew right then this was more than just a decision about a ringing phone. It was about allowing himself to lean into the joy that was being offered or retreating back into isolation and doubt. Maybe I should just suddenly. The ground beneath their feet trembled just a bit. A rustling from the bushes caught Jack's attention. A figure stepped out into the fading sunlight, a face he didn't expect to see. A piece of his past. And with that familiar face, the very thread that connected Jack to Rosa and her world began to fray. Would he risk everything for a chance to build something new? Or would he retreat back into the shadows? The question hung heavy in the air, charged with uncertainty, waiting to be answered as Jack's past loomed closer. Jack's stomach twisted as he took in the form emerging from the shadows. The setting sun cast an eerie glow on the familiar face that materialized. Time froze, every heartbeat echoing louder in his ears. It was Liam, his old business partner, the one who had walked away with half of everything he had worked for. Jack? Liam's voice was a mixture of surprise and disbelief, as if seeing a ghost. The weight of memories rushed in, intertwining with the joy and warmth of the moment he had just begun to embrace with Rosa and Mateo. Jack barely registered the flicker of uncertainty in Rosa's eyes as she eyed Liam, confusion masking her concern. What are you doing here? Jack managed, anger bubbling below the surface, along with a hint of something else he couldn't quite identify. Fear? Regret? I came to find you, Liam said, the bravado slipping from his tone. Mateo, sensing the tension, bounced back towards the door, a sense of unease crossing his young features. Is everything okay? He whispered, his innocent gaze darting between the adults. Jack's smile slipped further as he looked back at Rosa, who was silently urging him to rise above it all. But all he could feel was the bitterness, fierce and alive, wrapping itself around whatever fragile piece he had just begun to build. What do you want? I think we need to talk about what happened, Liam replied, hands raised in a placating gesture. There are things I didn't tell you, things that have come to light since. Jack shook his head, frustration spilling over. He could feel the tension thickening, like an object stuck in the throat, suffocating any words he might offer. You think I care? You walked away. Now you expect me to just forget the past? Liam took a step closer, the urgency in his voice elevating. You need to listen. Jack felt Rosa's hand gently clasp his shoulder, grounding him momentarily. You don't have to do this now, she whispered, her voice soothing. Let us talk back inside. No, Jack snapped, startling Mateo. But deep down, he felt a flicker of uncertainty. The past was clawing its way back in, rasping against the edges of his new life. What if it was worth listening? What if the truths Liam hinted at could ease the burdens Jack carried? Liam's expression softened, a glimmer of sincerity breaking through his guarded demeanor. I had to make hard choices. We both did. But you need to understand the truth, Jack. You may not be as alone in this as you think. The words twisted inside Jack's chest. He opened his mouth, ready to argue, to dismiss the man who had caused him so much pain. But then his eyes flickered over to Rosa and Mateo, who stood watching, their trust in him strong, unwavering. Should he turn away from the past and focus on his future? Could he guard the happiness he found here and risk uncovering secrets that could shatter it all? He felt the pull of history, the magnetic weight of Liam's presence threatening to drag him back into the dark waters he was trying so desperately to escape. Rosa stepped forward, her voice calm yet firm. Jack, whatever it is, it can wait. You don't have to deal with this alone. As Jack's breath quickened, he knew he stood at a precipice, the weight of choice heavy on his shoulders. Within this tangled moment, he faced not only his past, but also the uncertainty of letting someone in. Would he dive into the chaos or find a way to shield his newfound happiness? He glanced from Rosa to Liam, the battle within him raging. Maybe Jack breathed out, heart racing. Maybe I do need to hear this. The air was thick with possibility, crackling with tension that felt like it could burst at any moment. What awaited him behind the truths Liam alluded to? And what would it mean for the life he was trying to build? Questions lingered like smoke, heavy and suffocating, pulling Jack closer to a time he had tried to bury. The moment hung in the air, a fragile thread woven between past pain and present possibility. Jack felt the earth shift beneath him, the dazzling glow of his new life dimming as shadows coiled around the truth he had avoided for so long. Liam took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. I know how it looks, Jack. You think I just left you high and dry? But that's not the whole story. There was an earnestness in his voice that caught Jack off guard, a desperate plea hidden under layers of resentment. Then tell me, Liam, Jack snapped. Tell me why you did it. Mateo's small form trembled slightly beside Rosa, who knelt to reassure him. It's okay, kiddo. Just a little talk, nothing to worry about. She whispered softly, determination flickering in her eyes as she looked back at Jack, urging him to show restraint. Jack clenched his fists, the memories hitting harder. Late nights running numbers, hopes of making it big, and the gut-wrenching betrayal when Liam walked out. You've got 2 minutes, he said, his voice colder than he intended. But he couldn't help it, the anger coursed through every vein. Liam seemed to swallow that anger. The business, Jack, it wasn't stable. I found things out. Dangerous things that could ruin us both. He glanced back toward the darkening street, as if the words themselves could summon trouble. I wanted to protect us. I thought if I left, you'd have a better chance to make it on your own. Protect us? By stealing half my life? Jack's heart thudded, each beat echoing his own doubts. If Liam had any truth to his story, was he really sacrificing himself for Jack's good? He glanced at Rosa, who was still watching him, her expression a mix of support and sorrow. Think about Mateo, Rosa said gently, chipper yet firm, breaking through the haze of Jack's anger. What would you do if he were in danger? The mention of his son shifted something inside Jack. He took a step back, allowing Rosa's words to light a spark of clarity. The small face of innocence in Mateo, anxious but curious about the unfolding scene, reminded Jack of what really mattered. Go on, Liam. If there's more, I want to hear it, Jack finally said, his tone softening just enough to keep the door open, though the tension in the air remained palpable. Liam nodded, his eyes flickering with the intensity of revelation. I found connections between our clients and some illegal transactions, the kind that could get both of us in serious trouble. I thought it would be safer if I just disappeared. But it hasn't been a day that I haven't regretted it. Jack fought the instinct to reject Liam's words outright. The flicker of guilt ignited deep within him. What if there was some truth buried beneath the pain? As Liam continued detailing the threats that loomed over their former business, Jack felt his heart pound harder. Not just from the tension but from the dawning realization that he had inadvertently gathered this storm all on his own. Each revelation peeled back layers, forcing him to confront what he'd long chosen to ignore. Slowly, the air shifted from confrontation to something more dangerous. A soft, budding vulnerability regarding the choices he made for his family, wrought with questions he avoided because of fear. Rosa's warm hand remained steady on his shoulder, grounding him as his mind raced. What Liam had claimed, the secrets twisted in the intricate web of a past Jack had desperately tried to escape, now felt real, an undeniable connection to everything Jack had fought so hard to rebuild. His pulse quickened as his gaze met Liam's, searching for honesty amid those old wounds. Was it possible that the man who had shattered his world could help him understand the pieces? Maybe you're not the only one who needs to talk, Jack finally whispered, the weight of his words heavy in the crisp air. As Mateo shuffled closer, still worried but trusting, Jack realized that letting go of the past might finally allow him to catch a glimpse of the future. But one question remained, bright and unavoidable. Was he ready to risk it all for the truth, knowing it could reshape his life yet again? The darkness that coiled around his past was still there, lurking, waiting to see how this would all unfold. In that moment of uncertainty, Jack knew change was looming, and with it, new paths waiting to be forged. What awaited them all as they ventured deeper into this conversation? And would uncovering the truth be the key to finally moving forward, or would it lead them to an even darker end? Jack felt the air grow thicker between them, each word spiraling back to the tension that had built over years. He could hear Mateo's quiet breaths beside him, a silent reminder of everything he held dear. "Jack, please just listen," Liam continued, his voice steady now, the urgency returning. "These people I found out about, they're dangerous. They're connected. We weren't just running a business, we were stepping into something much darker. I did what I thought was right." Jack wanted to scoff, to dismiss Liam's claims as more pathetic excuses. But something inside him, a faint flicker of curiosity, nudged him to listen. "What are you saying?" Jack asked, his brow furrowing. "Are you saying you didn't just bail on me? That you were trying to protect me?" "Yes." Liam's voice cracked just slightly, revealing layers of emotion. "You were my best friend. I thought if I left, you could start fresh. I remember the days we dreamed big, the nights we planned how we'd take over the world. I believed in the dream, Jack. I just didn't see the darkness creeping in." Rosa still stood, her hand unwavering on Jack's shoulder, breathing encouragement into the chaos. Mateo looked between the two men, sensing the tension but hopeful that they would come to an understanding. "What could possibly be so big that you thought running away was the answer?" Jack pressed. His heart raced, the tide of anger ebbing away, replaced instead with a cautious curiosity. "The last deal." Liam hesitated, swallowing hard. "It was a cover. I saw papers linking our company to a crime ring. They were looking at us for something bigger than what we imagined. If you'd kept going, you'd be wrapped up in something that could end with prison sentences. Or worse." Jack ground his teeth, the memories igniting again. The nights spent worrying, the calls unanswered, the debts racking up in the shadows. "And you thought leaving would fix it?" "Yes. I thought I was protecting you," Liam insisted, desperation aching in every syllable. "I thought you would thank me for it one day. But I didn't realize how deep this would hurt you." The truth of it stung Jack like a sharp knife. "You were my partner, Liam. We were supposed to figure this out together. I thought I was doing the right thing, I swear. I wanted you to have a chance, not knowing that it would cost us everything." A silence fell around them, heavy and suffocating. Jack glanced at Mateo, whose innocent gaze held naive trust in the fragile threads of adulthood both men were tangling with. "What do I even do with this?" Jack muttered, more to himself than to Liam. "No one says you have to forgive me," Liam replied softly. "But you deserve to know what you're dealing with. There's a storm coming, Jack, and it's bigger than anything we faced before." Jack felt the ground shaking beneath him again. But this time, it was not only anger and betrayal, it was fear mixed with clarity, along with an unexpected urge to fight back. He could feel the chips starting to fall into place, but there was still a long road ahead. Rosa interrupted the silence gently. "Jack, we need to think about what we tell Mateo. He's just a kid. This isn't something he should be scared of, right?" Jack glanced down at Mateo, whose big eyes were filled with the innocence of a child, unaware of the adult dilemmas crackling in the air. Jack knelt in front of him, forcing a smile. "Everything's okay, buddy. Just a little bit of grown-up talk." He felt broken inside, but hope glimmered faintly in the distance. "What if we band together?" Jack suddenly proposed, glancing again at Liam. "What if we take this fight to whoever's behind it and we do it as a team?" "Jack, that's risky," Liam warned. "You don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking," Jack snapped back. "I'm asking if we can stop running from our past and fight for something better." Jack's heart leaped. The brashness of his suggestion played out like his fiercest dreams. There was something liberating in finally facing the storm. Mateo's little hand clasped Jack's. "Can we win?" The weight of uncertain answers loomed ahead, but Jack felt a flicker of resolve. The path wouldn't be easy, but fighting together could be the only option. As the shadows shifted, Jack could sense the fateful moments to come, mere seconds away from collapsing the past and fanning the flames of a new beginning. Would they truly uncover the depths of this conspiracy? Or would they simply awaken a danger too colossal to face? Jack stood at a crossroads, the air thick with uncertainty, but deep inside, a flicker of hope had ignited. How many times had he felt lost in silence, drowning in regret? And yet, here he was, surrounded by newfound connection, a reminder that joy could exist on the other side of pain. The embers of his spirit flickered brightly in the face of danger. He looked at Rosa, standing strong next to him, a beacon of warmth and unwavering encouragement. Mateo, innocent and hoping, held tight to Jack's hand, and in that moment, Jack knew he would not back down. Together, he affirmed, his voice steady despite the storm brewing around them. Whatever happens, we do this as a team. Team? Liam muttered, skepticism anchoring his tone. You sure? Not just a team. A family? Jack replied, glancing down at Mateo, who nodded earnestly, eyes alight with excitement. Across the street, the sun dipped below the horizon, igniting the sky in hues of purple and gold. It mirrored the infusion of new life they were bringing to this fight. Jack could feel every heartbeat as a promise, vivid and powerful. Yes, a family, Rosa affirmed, her voice unwavering. And families stick together no matter what. The three of them formed a circle, facing the past that threatened to reframe their futures. Jack took a deep breath, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They would investigate this conspiracy, find out who was behind the shadows that loomed over them. He felt solidarity building between the three of them, knitting tighter than any fear could fray. Jack turned to Liam, eyes brimming with determination. So what do you know? Who do we need to be concerned about? Liam hesitated, weighing his words, the weight of past choices etched on his face. I can show you evidence. Names, connections, all the things I was afraid to confront. It's dangerous, but if you're serious, it's time to end this mess. Jack felt the floodgates of his resolve open wider. Lead the way, Liam. We're ready. Days turned into nights as they forged their plan, fueled by daring discussions and sleepless brainstorming sessions. Jack grew closer to Rosa, their shared laughs deepening the bond that helped him heal from his past. With Mateo by their sides, every challenge felt lighter. Cooking together became not just a necessity but a joyful ritual that built shared memories as they sat at the kitchen table one evening. Rosa poured them all cups of tea. She began to share stories of bravery from her family's past, resonating with lessons of resilience. Jack realized with each word, he was no longer just drawn to her spirit but drawn into her world. Jack, Rosa said one evening, cutting through the laughter their small kitchen had gathered, you don't have to bear this burden alone. You've built a new life. You've chosen this path with us. Her words hung in the air, drenched in sincerity, and Jack felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. In that moment, he understood wholeheartedly the truth of what they were forging, a home built on vulnerability, courage, and love. But it was time to face the truth of their past. The day came when they gathered the evidence Liam had compiled, their hearts pounding. Jack felt the cage of fear tighten around him again. A quick escape from a life shaped by betrayal was almost instinctual. But he saw Rosa's supportive gaze, and the weight lifted slightly. Let us do this, together, Jack said, steeling himself. Their hands all intertwined strong and united as they delved deeper into the investigation. The shadows they uncovered were darker than any of them had imagined. The complications stretched to corners of the city they had never anticipated, a network of deceit, but every moment brought them closer, turning obstacles into stepping stones. Then came a phone call late one night from a frightened whistleblower, revealing the depths of the conspiracy. The air was electric with urgency as Jack rallied everyone to face what lay ahead. It was time to confront the enemy, the very threat that lingered in the shadows. They moved quickly, forming a plan to reveal the truth, to share it with authorities, the only way they could rid themselves of the darkness. Jack felt adrenaline pulsing through him. Could they succeed? They were taking risks, carving a path toward justice, but the light shining from Rosa and Mateo bolstered his spirit on the day of reckoning. They stood shoulder to shoulder, hearts beating fiercely as they confronted the hidden players behind the facade. Support came from unexpected places, gaining momentum, and as Jack spoke out, sharing their story, he felt empowered and lightened by the truth. With every detail revealed and every voice raised, they began to dismantle the web that had ensnared them. In that chaotic moment, Jack realized liberation lay not just in this moment but in the journey that had shaped them. Finally, as the dust settled, their fears began to dissipate. A community came to life around them, one born from shared pain but forged in resilience. As Jack looked into Rosa's eyes, filled with tears of joy, he felt the old shackles of loneliness fall away completely. "Thank you," he breathed, knowing words would never fully capture the depth of gratitude he felt. Rosa beamed back at him, the light illuminating the way forward. "We did this together as a family." Together they stepped forward, heads held high, embracing the new chapter unfolding before them. Jack knew, deep in his heart, this was just the beginning. They weren't alone anymore as the sun rose on a new day. The warmth blanketed them all, and hope flourished. Their bond had flourished, built on laughter, courage, and love. They were creating a future not just for Jack, Rosa, and Mateo but for all those who needed to see the light in their own lives. Jack smiled, taking a deep breath as he stepped into the sun, his heart full, knowing they were forever intertwined. Now, dear readers, it's time for you to step forward, just as Jack did. You need to subscribe now to our channel for more heartwarming transformations like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Don't hold back, comment your feelings about Jack and Rosa's journey because your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this beautiful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share, because true fans like you understand the importance of supporting our channel.